Coalition of St. Croix. I am your host through ASTSpeaks Media, Dr. Chinsera. We'll leave all the other names for another time. St. Croix. And we're very, very pleased to be able to be joined by our illustrious sister queens of the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. We have to keep this energetic vibration up because we're going to be talking about some topics and themes that may actually hurt some folks in their spirit. So just breathe and simmer. You'll see us talking, and you can tell, around this theme of let's talk, easing into change, the Women's Coalition of St. Croix's radio talk show, which is really an awesome new piece with their launch happening earlier last month in June. Yay, congratulations, Women's Coalition of St. Croix. And they have their first Wednesdays of the month broadcast. I like that name though. I just want to pause for a second before we go into this theme. Let's talk, easing into change. I think that's powerful as it shows right here around education, engagement, experience, and empowerment. And this is on WJKC 95.1 FM, and it's the first Wednesdays monthly at 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. For those that are in other parts of the world, that's still Eastern Time for now. It will be 11 a.m. for our sisters and brothers in the West Coast and the Pacific, and you can do the math for Mountain and Central Time. For our sisters and brothers that are in the UK, because we do know we have a number of brothers and sisters in the UK, Sierra Leone, Ghana, that are listening and tuning in, it would be 7 p.m. Again, first Wednesdays monthly, and this is the Women's Coalition of St. Croix's radio talk show. Let's talk, easing into change. I think that's wonderful. So first, I just wanted to make sure that I congratulated the Women's Coalition for having that particular broadcast available. And we get the opportunity here on ASTSpeaks to share, and just, I feel honored to be able to just be a part of the whole experience. So I'm gonna leave that part of our discussion and conversation open to all of us. It's always an honor and a privilege to be joined by Sister Queen Deborah Benjamin, who serves as the communication coordinator for the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. Yes. And of course, Sister Queen Shalene Gums. And she does so many different things in addition to being a crisis counselor and a guide and a poet and an educator and a whole other series of things. I hope I have it correctly. Crisis counselor?
Yes.
Give thanks of the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. You can tell my Toastmaster training. We do that in between while we're introducing persons. And today we are taking some time to share, highlight some areas and themes that are somewhat challenging, that many persons may not think exist here in the Virgin Islands. And that's just around that theme of human trafficking. And I want persons to just take a minute, a very deep breath. We're sending out a lot of positive energy for anyone that's within an earshot, a visual shot of this particular broadcast, so that if you need to talk to somebody, you need to get some support and help, please reach out to the Women's Coalition of St. Croix at 340-773-9272. I didn't know I knew that number, but just for people that know by heart, it's important that you reach out, because each one can reach one, because each one can heal one. And this is a topic that is dear to many of our hearts because it's something that's so blatant yet subtle. And it can be happening right before our very eyes with people that we think are our friends or acquaintances, people we work with, and we would have no idea of the severity of the situation. And there's going to be a dynamic broadcast tomorrow on the Let's Talk Easing into Change on WJKC 95.1 FM at 2 p.m. Atlantic. It's important. You want to get the facts and the data of what's going on. Some very serious experts are going to be joining us. So with that being said, as I wait for Sister Queen Deborah, are you ready to tune in and join us? Okay, we will move forward. We'll move forward. Sister.
I'm here. I'm
okay, beautiful. No worries. We just didn't see you. And that way, there we go. Thank you. See the visuals.
Yeah, I just had to go and put a virtual meeting in progress sign on my door.
Okay, of course, because we're in a work environment. We have persons that just come in, knocking, come back. Okay, we're good. I really do. I feel you. I have a little more autonomy where I'm at now. And I do remember I used to have a sign that had to stay out of my office door for that, because they would bang as if you weren't even there and they know you're there. But it's okay. We understand the importance and the urgency in which we're needed. How about that? Did I say that nicely?
How about that?
Okay. So with that being said, Sister Queen Deborah, would you please just open up our discussion on what's in store for tomorrow in just a little bit? I'm hoping that one of you will give a definition of human trafficking so persons can just get an idea of what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, I first want to thank you very much, Dr. Chenzira, for always being a sister, for always being an advocate, a guide, a soldier with us on this journey to positive change that we continue to work to bring to our communities, to ourselves, to our families, to our global network of communities. So I thank you so much for always being such a strong and powerful voice for positivity and for self-agency and for healing with us. I'm so grateful. We, as you said, have this new radio show. This is the second month that we are actually doing our radio show on WJKC Isle 95. And we're very excited to be able to engage the community around education, around positive experiences, and certainly to promote empowerment for all of us. And July 30th is the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And as we know, we just commemorated, because I can't say celebrate because we aren't free, as far as I'm concerned. We're not.
Did I hear an amen in the background? Did I hear an amen?
Amen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and until we are free, we will continue to commemorate and work towards that liberty and that freedom. But we just commemorated Emancipation Day and here in the USVI, and I don't think we hear a lot about how, the Virgin Islands and Haiti are the two places where that rebellious spirit, that drive for freedom, for self-determination, against slavery and white supremacy led to rebellion. Yeah, we gotta know our history. And we gotta
1733 for the family that forgot in St. John.
What?
1733, like November 23rd until May 24th, 1734. Right. There's some options, in Haiti, we don't know. They still feeling the brunt because they did break off not only from the enslavement and colonialization from France, but also from Spain. So for all of my Dominican Republic brethren and sistren, yo entiendo que tú dices, we definitely bringing forward that there would be no DR if it wasn't for that independence vibration of Haiti. How about that? Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So we're starting off with a bang. Whoop, 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 whoop. We starting off with a bang. Yes, and it was also Caribbean American Heritage Month in June, as well as LGBTQIA plus Pride Month. So we've got a lot going on in this Callaloo um, of causes and things that need to be commemorated. But we are focusing on emancipation and on human trafficking for our radio show tomorrow. And we are really excited because it is, as you said, not something that is discussed or is even acknowledged as the serious issue that it is here in the VI. And so I am going to let my illustrious colleague, Ms. Gums. Can you tell I'm like biased where she's concerned? Like she's like totally awesome, right? I'm just like fangirling right now, but I'm focused. I'm gonna let Ms. Gums talk a little bit about more about what we're gonna be doing tomorrow. 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, Aisle 95, Women's Coalition of St. Croix Facebook page, because we're gonna be live streaming as well. And I'm done.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, or good night wherever you are, because I do know that Dr. Chen is global, and I so like that. I like telling my people in Asia, listen to her show. So, the 12-hour time difference. I'm about to go to Australia, so the 14-hour time difference, we're going to build it, because regardless of where we go, there's always going to be one of us. And as long as there's one of us, we're going to definitely need to be heard on every level. So tomorrow we're talking about emancipation and human trafficking, a little bit more focus on the human trafficking, because people in our region always see human trafficking as outside of ourselves. It's one of those things where it's it's them, not us kind of story. So we need to bring it home to know that it happens here. Unfortunately, it happens here. And so we want to talk about that. We want to talk about what human trafficking is. And human trafficking is broken down into a couple parts. The main parts that we have problems with here in the Virgin Islands, we don't have so much of problems with the organ harvesting part of human trafficking, but we do have a lot of sex trade, and I do have a lot of labor trafficking that happens here. And so we wanted to bring that to light. And it's not the thing that you see on TV all the time, kind of like how people only think that domestic violence occurs when somebody hits you. It's a lot more than that. It's the psychological, the financial, the sexual, the emotional abuse that takes place. That's all domestic violence. The same thing with human trafficking. It's not people picking up a bunch of people in the back of a truck and carrying them down the road and then selling them for sex on the street, because we never see that here. But it does have a lot to do with you moving somebody from one place to the next, coercing them into trying to have sex with you, getting money for them having sex with you, pimping them out, carrying them someplace, and they can't get home unless they have sex with you and all your friends. And that happens here. It happens from high school coming all the way up. And so we want to bring to light that happens here in the territory, and it happens more often than we see it. Most victims are, especially in sex trafficking, are too ashamed to say anything, because it's not the foreigners that are coming in that really are our problem. It's the Virgin Islanders that are being trafficked by Virgin Islanders that are our problem, right? Because if somebody comes in from a foreign country, it's kind of easy to pinpoint that something's wrong or something's different because they stand out. But we don't look at what's happening to our people here. You do not have to be a foreign national or from a different country to be trafficked. You can be trafficked here in the community by other community members from one place to the next. Force, fraud, and coercion are the main themes that come behind human trafficking. And in labor trafficking, we see that a lot. You get moved from one person to the next person because you owe a debt and you can't get it paid off. And that causes you to be in a position where you never ever get it paid off. So you become a slave to that person. And that's pretty much what human trafficking is. It's modern day slavery, hence the reason for us connecting emancipation with it, right? Because it's time for everybody to be free for real, not just when we want to use the word and say that it sounds good, but we really need to be free. We need to be free across the board. And understanding that, you know, a lot of times it happens when people come, you bring in people, you know, I mean, as in from the domestic violence perspective, we see it a lot. You bring in people, they come in on a K visa, which means a fiance visa. You go down to their country, tell them you're going to marry them, everything's going to be wonderful. You bring them up here, never file their papers, and then you use that against them. And then you make them sleep with everybody and you make them work for you and they never get paid and all the rest of it. So it looks very different than it does on TV here. And so we want to make sure that everybody's very much aware that that happens. And if you see something, say something. If you go someplace and something doesn't look right, you can call us. HSI is going to be on tomorrow. You can give them they'll give you the tip hotline number that you can call, but you know, give us a call as well. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're a victim advocacy agency, and it doesn't make a difference. Some people may not feel comfortable reporting to the authorities because the authorities are the threats, right? So we kind of try to bridge the gap in between there. But that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, right? Because we really are trying to get emancipation to be a real word, not just a word, but a real word, one that actually has meaning behind it. And until all of us are completely free, none of us really are.
Very well put. Give thanks for that, Sister Queen Shalene, because that's something that we don't speak about often, and it's a challenging conversation because there's so many other crises. Make sure I say that, crises, plural for sure, happening in our community here in the Virgin Islands and our surrounding Caribbean, the Americas, and the world. It's hard to keep up. And sometimes you're not sure if you are interfering in person's personal relations or engagement when you may think that you see something and you're just not sure, you know. So sometimes people are like, well, that don't have nothing to do with me. I'm not going to say anything because it has nothing to do with me. And then we need to go deeper and recognize that human trafficking is serious. And it's, while most persons directly connected to sex work, it's some really important elements to navigate that. And I like using definitions that I'm able to get, like this is on the Decriminalized Sex Work website. And it defines human trafficking as when an individual or group uses force, fraud, or coercion to compel another into some kind of labor, including commercial sex acts. Human trafficking is an egregious abuse of human rights and a critical public health issue that causes long-term harm to individuals and communities. I think it's really critical for persons to just be clear on what is being said here. So don't take it as something that does not happen in the Virgin Islands. Even my background, I made sure that I pulled from the reports that exist from human trafficking agencies in the Virgin Islands. And there's a very detailed report. That report we're putting the link to inside of our Facebook pages, just so persons can go and they can study, read, and assess for themselves. And tomorrow on the Women Coalitions of St. Croix radio program on 95.1 FM at 2 p.m. Atlantic, you will be able to get some firsthand information from those experts and those professionals that are right here in the Virgin Islands. If you've got questions, if you have concerns, if it's something that's appropriate, and I'm going to say what I mean by appropriate, if it's something that's not going to endanger the life of someone, right? Don't come on and I see this girl on the other side, across the street from me here, on the other side of Estate LaGrange, and she lived right across from 72, right? Don't come with that, you know, but if you want to get some information on what to do if, and just minimize, you know, making your identifiers so specific that it would cause harm to anyone, male or female, elder or child, or in between. And I just wanted to just share that particular portion. And Sister Queen Deborah, you were going to chime in with some other reflections and facts.
I feel like because some of our Caribbean people have a lot of shame, you know, we think of things in terms of it just being a very narrow-minded view. And this idea that if something happens to somebody in our family or somebody that we're close with, it's always got to be a secret. You know, like a secret is a good thing. And a lot of the time, a secret is not a good thing because it's hiding something deeper, hurtful, dangerous, painful, and long-term effects. You know, it's hidden. And with that hiding is pain.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's so important for us to talk about these things that we find to be difficult, that we find that there's a lot of shame around, because we have to dispel that myth that shame is going to save us or protect us when it does not. All it does is perpetuate negativity and keep us from getting the help that we need a lot of the time. Now, I'm not saying that somebody should, as Dr. Chen was saying, put something out there that's going to cause even more harm to somebody or be triggering to somebody, or put them in a situation that is even more dangerous for them. But just consider that if one more person knows about something that is harming you, something that is detrimental to you, if you can manage to get that information out in a way that still keeps you or them safe, then you have opened a door to change, positive change, to help, to perhaps stopping this traumatic experience.
Excellent.
Because shame ain't good. Shame never saved nobody, nobody. And I'm speaking from experience when I say that, because my family was one of those families that, we had to keep everything quiet. Don't let the neighbors know. Well, luckily they built houses a little differently back then, so neighbors really didn't have to know until it was in your house, because them walls kept everything inside. And we learned to be like those houses, those sturdy houses. We kept everything inside. And what happened? We got ulcers. We got trapped. We got a legacy of pain and suffering. And so I encourage anyone today who cannot see their way clear to a different life for themselves, to consider if you can do it in a way that is safe, to let it out. Maybe you tried before and it didn't work. Maybe that person wasn't the right person for you to tell. Try again. Try again, because it could only mean that you recognize that help is here for you, and help is here for everybody. So even if it's to call the coalition, we are here, no heat, no judgment. We have a 24/7 crisis intervention hotline. We work with, and that's one of the things that I want to focus on tomorrow, is our community connections. We work with agencies that handle human trafficking on the local and on the federal level.
Mhm.
And help is here for you. If you can do it safely, do it. Try it one more time.
Right.
And
Right.
that was heavy on my heart to say. I hope it's okay.
No, but that was important to get that out. That's why we're having this type of conversation. Like what I'm also doing to help to navigate through some of these. This isn't a theme that's very easy, because many of us may not have even known what we thought was one type of abuse that some of our sisters and brothers were experiencing was actually trafficking. And that's something that's very difficult. And people, people of African descent, please take what I'm saying in the medicinal healing way in which it's being said. Sometimes we are so busy being in a space of shamefulness and making our truths so invisible that we do not get the help until it's really too late. And that's something that goes across the board for persons of African ancestry. I'm not saying our indigenous and, some of our Eurasian, brown, what did they tell me now? They have to say black and brown. I'm working on Creole colors to describe humanity. So I tend to say Eurasian, indigenous, Africans, persons, right? Because I'm thinking of us in a global space. And this is just a really powerful theme to even have the discussion on. There is, for those persons that aren't familiar, opportunities to work with the Women's Coalition of St. Croix in the event that you just need that counsel, that support, that advocacy, and to know the other agencies, because persons forget that when we're saying go to or reach out to the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, listen to what the term is. The women's buzzword, coalition, right? So don't think you just go into the office up on a hill up in East End. You're getting a wealth of agencies, individuals, corporations, organizations that can provide some degree of support with the type of confidentiality that they have been able to be very proud of for over 40 years. I think it's really important to highlight that in this discussion, because human trafficking can become, it becomes deadly. And persons need to think of that. Back in the day, enslavement had that deadliness component to it. And now in the 21st century, where we have all of this wonderful posh development and all types of ways to communicate and engage and expose and share, it's still happening and hiding behind 17th century shame, 18th century invisibility, 19th century don't tell nobody nothing, and 20th century, who, me? I didn't see that. No, it's the 21st century. And this is the time where we should be healing with some degree of transparency. I hope I said that politely, because my intention was to say it politely, so that persons didn't take it as if, it's like, well, because it's not a point finger piece. It's really like I'm asking from a space of humility, because this is a very sensitive topic that has touched many of us. I'm going to say, and I want persons to hear it. Many of us have experienced this. And what it may look like on the outside is not what's really going on. So I hope the persons also look into the Trafficking Institute, because there is a Virgin Islands Trafficking Institute. They have a number of reports. They work with different agencies, and I'm sure that that's going to come up in your illustrious July installation of your Women's Coalition of St. Croix broadcast on 95.1 FM, 2 p.m. I get a kick out. Whoop, I'm too excited. So I would really love to, and I know that we have to close up very shortly because you all have another layer of things to do. If there are any closing reflections, comments, just reminders for tomorrow, agency numbers that you'd like to put on the broadcast so that we can have that here as well. Please, Sister Shalene.
Okay, well, I'll leave the numbers part to Debbie because she's so good at that. I absolutely love that she's our communications coordinator because she remembers everything. I don't do that anymore. But I don't need to. That's why I have Debbie. But just to let just so that we understand how real human trafficking is, it is $150 billion industry, right? Worldwide.
Pause. Because I'm sitting here thinking about the cost of my next home. One more time. How many billion?
$150 billion industry globally, 32 billion just in the US alone, right? So you have to understand that this thing is real. It's number 2 after drugs, right? So understand, and why, one of the reasons why human trafficking is really, really close to my heart is that the slave trade, it just changed names, right? That's all it did. It just changed names. The reason why this industry, because I don't know what else to call it, because they don't think of people as people in this thing, is because people are reusable, right? They see us as humans as recyclable property, right? So this is going to be hard to hear, but I'm going to say it because we need to hear it. So if I have a 5-year-old, I can use that 5-year-old till they're 21 because I own them. They can have sex or work. Well, let's use sex. They can have sex with 20 people, and because they're 5 years old, that's $100 per person. That's one day, that's $2,000, if you understand. And if I have a whole bunch of people that I'm doing this with, that's how my money is made. Your child, unlike drugs, it doesn't disappear. You can put it back out there because they don't see the child as a child, it's a piece of property. Just like in the slave trade. They put the piece of property back out there, and that piece of property, again, has to do this over and over. When you have to the numbers of 17,000, just to give a ballpark figure for you to do the math, think about that each of those 17,000 people making $2,000 a day. You'll understand where the money comes from. The damage that is done to that human being after they've been now discarded because they don't serve a purpose anymore is nearly irreparable, right? But they're walking around in our community because sometimes you send a picture, you don't realize that that picture got into the wrong hands, and now you're blackmailed into continuing to do this. And they do not realize that that's how it happens. That's the reason why you don't send pictures to people. Don't go no place you don't know nobody. Please try and stay safe in all aspects, because it's not the thing. It's this, Dr. Chen, you were talking about how much technology we have. That technology is what's used to organize how this human trafficking takes place. And so we really need to become very aware of it. And Debbie's going to give you the numbers and stuff like that, because now that I've just done the shock treatment, because I'm looking at your faces, but that's the reality.
Because, the real face was supposed to be like, what? But I said, we're trying to look presentable.
Yeah.
We're live, right? And I'm holding my thought, because right before you share your reflection, Sister Queen Deborah, and very much so grateful for you just giving us that reality reassessment, Sister Shalene. I just want to share something from the Human Trafficking Institute's page that specifies the Virgin Islands State Report. In the Virgin Islands, 0 new criminal human trafficking cases were filed in federal courts in 2020. 0 defendants were convicted. 100% of active defendants were charged with sex trafficking, and 0% were charged with forced labor. Since 0 defendants were convicted federally, none were ordered to pay restitution to their victims. Only in 2017 has a Virgin Islands trafficking defendant been federally convicted. And we know who that is. We won't have to say that. But it's important to know this sounds exactly like enslavement during the heights of the enslavement trade. Persons that were doing things that were violating the human rights of people of African ancestry and others were never found guilty of anything. It was considered, it was unlawful. It was brinking on illegal, but nothing was done to them. And that's why now we have all these laws and policies and protocols, and persons still are not stepping forward. And it's more than fear. It's that death kill piece. And it's really important that persons see how important this is and tune in tomorrow to get more information. And please, if you question what we're saying, I encourage you to look at this Virgin Islands State Report for 2020, because we've placed that link. Please prepare to close us out, Sister Queen Deborah.
I'm going to first give the coalition's number, of course. Our 24-hour hotline is 340-773-9272. That's 340-773-9272. The Family Resource Center is our sister organization on St. Thomas and St. John, and their number is 340-514-1823 on St. John. That's 340-514-1823. On St. Thomas, 340-776-3966, or 340-776-7867. The National Domestic Violence Hotlines number is 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233, and we are affiliated with them as well. The National Sexual Assault Hotlines number is 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-4673. And the Human Trafficking hotline number is 888-373-7888. That's 888-373-7888. Or you can text HELP or info to 233-733. I'm going to do that one again. You can text HELP, the word HELP, HELP, or info, INFO, to be free. That's BE, F as in Frank, REE. And that numerically, that's 233-733. Again, the number is 888-373-7888.
I am grateful. I am
So
grateful. I'm very
help
grateful.
us out here. It's here. It's here. Reach out if you can. And just don't forget to join us tomorrow. We're going to have a call in line available, so you can call in and ask your questions of the agents from the Human Trafficking Task Force who will be there. And also, we're going to have someone from the AG's office. Is that correct, Ms. Gons?
Yeah, the AG should be here tomorrow as well.
Awesome.
No, I think it's very important that that is made available so persons can know. And those different numbers, those different agencies, we'll just keep populating those inside of our various social media pages. We know that Sister Queen Deborah, the coordinator, the communications coordinator like no other, has that on lock. So it will be on Facebook, Instagram, all them others, Twitter. It'll be I think we need to have one just called Twitter. I don't think we need Twitter. I think we're going to work towards having our own version of Twitter, because we seem to have all kinds of things coming out like quick,
Trust,
you know,
trust.
and right. And that with some vetted interest, not just populating trash on the social media networks, and just encouraging persons, please be safe, stay really strong and well, and just keep in mind, you know, keep your eyes in your space, in your sphere of joy and upliftment. At the same time, just be mindful what's happening with some of our sisters and brothers, their children, their families, so that we can put a little into this $150 billion global industry that's not providing agriculture, housing,
billion.
$1 billion industry. That's, you know, we have some things that need to be done, and we need some humanity that needs to be restored. So with that being said, I know that you all have to roll. Remember that culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. It's been a joy and a privilege to be joined by the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, Sister Queen Shalene Gums, yay! Sister Queen Deborah Benjamin, yay! And we're going to put out, because usually we would have had your executive director, Clemma Lewis, with us. So we're just going to put positive vibes out for her during this time, because we know under different circumstances, she would be here right front and center, add some voice, some bass inside of this whole, this whole discussion. So I'm very grateful, and I look forward. Everybody stay well, stay safe, and stay strong.